On today's show, we will discuss how MVRDV, a renowned Dutch architectural firm, uses AI to help in their creative processes. We will dive a bit deeper into how they are doing it, what kind of tools are they using, and what does that mean to the future of architecture using AI. I'm Daniel.
I'm Matheus. Fala de novo.
I'm Daniel,
I'm Matheus.
and this is the Human AI Experience. We'll be right back.
So MRDV journey with AI started simply because as a really big architecture office, they have already a R&D department. So they already work with research and development. Then through informal meetings, they start testing like Mid-Journey and Stable Diffusion. And was really nice because they start like understanding how can they use this tool, in a really nice way. So they start like doing renders as like normal pictures, so just putting like a building with green walls or stuff like that, and having like a material from that. And then through the time, they started like developing and diving into deeper in the tools. And the video that I have seen about that is that they are using now Stable Diffusion, and they are taking like real pictures of models, like physical models and even 3D models from computer, and rendering them like through Stable Diffusion.
Can I interrupt you? Because
Yeah.
just wanted to contextualize Stable Diffusion, right? Can you explain what exactly that is? We need to, start maybe defining a few of those concepts. What is a Stable Diffusion? If you're new to this, like explain to the audience.
Yeah, you got a really good question, because Stable Diffusion is like a tool similar to Midjourney and similar to DALL-E, Leonardo.ai. It generates images through diffusion. And then actually the differentiation of this tool, or what makes it unique, is that you can download it, this app, and install in your computer. And then you can create your own database of images, so you can teach your own AI, to generate the images that you want. So for me, Stable Diffusion is one of the ways of creating one of the tools that we can use in companies, like in revolutionize the way we are thinking about generating images nowadays. Because through a lot of problems with copyright, there's a lot of discussions about copyright. For example, I can write down in the Midjourney, I want a painting of an alien in the Da Vinci painting style, So it's gonna generate the Da Vinci eye of view, like in an alien painting, So I feel that with the Stable Diffusion, you can protect from copyright, because you're gonna feed your own AI, So you have control of the material that you're taking and using as for copywriting.
And it's also running in your own computer. It's not sending it to the cloud, basically. So that's one of the big differences. Okay, cool. I guess. And of course, in the future, we would like to create episodes where we're going to go into those concepts and those tools and just explain them deeply. What does it mean, a diffusion model? What is a LLM and so on? But that's for the future. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so through the Stable Diffusion, they started like being able to do renders in a really quick way, testing, for example, different materials. So they have I saw like an example. They took a photo of a physical model, so it was a really rough and like ugly physical model, just a study model, like made with cardboard, And then they took this photo like with like a white background, so they can just highlight what they wanted. And they ask like, okay, now Stable Diffusion, imagine for me a building, a render from that, And then the results were impressive, because you could see like how the AI was taking from the database and applying in a really good way. So the renders that might take like, I don't know, a month to be done, or 2 weeks, if you do it quickly, and now they're being done like in seconds, with a lot of variations of it.
How do you see the use of AI or Stable Diffusion in the architectural process? Where does it come in? You're giving an example now how they were using in a MVRDV. So where do you see the use of AI in the architectural pipeline, basically?
Yeah, I see different variations of it. For example, I feel that in the early stages of the projects, like they can be really useful because you can have like hand drawings and transform them into renders, or even like sketches. You can make it a little bit more suitable for clients, in a quick way. So it all depends on how you train your own AI. In this case, using Stable Diffusion, they did that. They trained their own AI, which for me, that's how I envision and how I see the use of AI in this for the next couple of years. And for me, it's a revolution, because the same revolution as we started, for example, in the 60s, everything was done by hand. And then in the 90s, in the 80s, they created AutoCAD. So there was a jump, like from you creating the drawings by hand, then having a tool that you can copy and paste, like in a virtual background, in a virtual like hardware, sorry, a virtual setup. And then there was another jump when we passed from AutoCAD to Beam and like Revit, where you create 3D that is like exactly a copy, or what will be your building, So you create walls that have exactly the same layers as in reality. So this is already exists, and I think AI will be the next jump, So it will be the third evolution of this of architecture in many ways.
A lot of people are comparing, I've been, and we discussed this. A lot of people are saying that the AI is as similar as the invention of the computer, because it's gonna change dramatically how we do our things. Computer, like you mentioned, like doing a parallel with what you mentioned, that before we will have to sketch and create all the architectural project by hand, right? By drawing, you had to have illustrators to just illustrate a lot of things. When the computer was invented, and all these softwares started like automatizing a lot of that. So suddenly you started doing that on your computer, right? Just, by mathematical equations, you just raise like a 3D version of that. And I guess we're seeing the next step in human evolution of what, and it's really interesting to see, or to try to follow up and assume what's going to happen next, and how dramatically this will change. It's hard to see it in the future. It's very easy to identify when you look into the past.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I do believe in hand drawings, because I put a lot of my ideas, especially when I'm sketching. I like to draw by hand, so my thoughts, they go faster than just putting it on the computer. Sometimes it's just a dumb idea, but you need to take it out of your head for the next idea to come out. So for me, transforming that sketches are quite raw or quite like ugly in something that might be not a dumb idea as you thought. Maybe it has some value that you're not seeing. If you use AI, maybe you can see something that you're not seeing in the sketch that you were creating. So these possibilities of they're so nice. They can be used in many ways. I see, for example, in a brainstorming, all of us are talking. Maybe we can start having a couple of renders, from different ideas.
Yeah, like on brainstorm sessions, you can quickly go to one of these generative models, and let's say I'm just thinking out loud here. You want to design like a building that needs to be some sort of integrated with the environment, but needs to have, I don't know, a green roof, for example. Then you can just basically, if you are trying to come up with ideas, you can also insert a few prompts, and then it will just generate some images with green roofs. And then from that, even if you're probably not going to use it, but it might, that just by seeing something, it might give you some other ideas, right? Is that how you see it happening?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that and then I saw like different styles. For example, you can have a really nice render that it's like maybe a watercoloring rendering, and then the same render can be like a really super realistic render with people. And so I think that the possibilities are infinite. Like you just need to use the right AI, let's say, or the right LoRa. We'll talk more about that. LoRa is like this database that you create for to feed the AI. And actually, I envision that there's other tools too. Like I feel that Rhino is another software for architecture, that it has some parameters that you can test. And then maybe we can do another episode about that, because that's another way of using AI. For example, instead of calculating or doing the design of parking spaces, you can do it quickly with Rhino. Just put the space, and then it will give you the best solutions. Because usually, talking about the parking lots, they're usually super hard to do it if you have an enclosure space, because you have like certain amount of space for cars to park, and then another space for them to pass by, to pass through. And then everything needs to fit in spaces they're not doing by that. So it's really interesting how can we use that.
So there's like a dedicated software to just generate parking lots. Okay, that's funny.
And different. I'm talking about parking lots, but they can do like so many other variants. They can even rearrange an apartment. So that's the future. The future is coming. As we mentioned in other episodes, I think we are still the curators. We as technicians, and we as technical experts, we're the ones who are gonna look and say, okay, this makes sense. This is totally shit, and we need to change. So I think we still need the human touch on it, but these tools, they are amazing to make us more productive and make us reach other levels. Maybe we can just focus in what is important instead of like losing a lot of time doing parking lots, for example.
Exactly. I guess where AI plays a big part is increasing productivity, right? Saving you time instead of just you spending hours or days conceptualizing things. You can basically speed up that process, that conceptual process, in a matter of hours, and you already have something to show or to discuss or to get some feedback, right?
Yeah. And I actually I tested personally tested Stable Diffusion, so downloaded in the company I was working in, and then I tested in a small render. Like I took like a really bad photo, because that was the only material that I had, and I asked them to render like a small like building, like with a simple building, but it was a building close to a bike parking. And then it was really nice to see how the computer was interpreting the image, and how a lot of variations were possible, like through this small piece. So I feel super excited with this topic, because it's I feel that's the future. And even in SketchUp, for example, are already incorporating this like they call it diffusion. So probably is the same Stable Diffusion that we were talking to, but they're incorporated into SketchUp. So you can do a similar thing with SketchUp, which is really interesting too.
Can you define SketchUp? What kind of
Yeah.
software? What does it do?
Yeah, SketchUp is like I think the most basic 3D 3D software that we can have. So you can easily make like through lines. You can create like a building. Like it's the most simple tool that you can use for making a 3D. Was created by Google. I think they wanna actually create it for Google Earth. Do you remember that there was some movement that they created, like, you can build your own city or stuff like that. So you could create the buildings that you wanted, and you can upload that on Google. That was maybe 20 years ago, it was a long time ago. But they created that, and then the SketchUp, I think it came with this idea of Google. Now another company bought it because and they improve other stuff, other functionalities in the tool. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So coming back to MVRDV, I really like it the way that they put it and they show it what they're doing, because it's a really big company, like in a worldwide scale. So when they propagate the use of AI, start seeing popping up a lot of movements from other companies, doing similar things. So I believe that they are like not ruling, but they're kind of starting this movement, in the architecture offices. And of course, it's easy if you have a R&D department in your company, because then you can test, you have a little bit of freedom to go and dive deeper in these topics. But I can definitely see anyone using it, even a small office, or even like a single architect, like doing his own job. Maybe this guy will have a better use than a big company, because big companies, they have a lot of people to do the same design.
And if you are a big company, you can also afford the computational power that you need to run AI. Right? It is a very, very expensive process. You need a lot of servers, powerful servers, power computers with powerful GPUs, I guess, to run AI. So yeah, you need to be able to afford. Otherwise, you have to have your own internally, right? Otherwise, you have to use the open ones, which are, we can talk about that later on, but there's a lot of privacy issues with those because they are open, they're sending our data to the cloud.
And we don't know the sources of the images. Yeah, we don't know the sources of the images. For example, in Midjourney, when you use Midjourney, it spreads all over. Even if you pay the subscription, people can see your images. And if you were doing like a project for a big client, or for example for a municipality, sometimes they want privacy, in their images, because it's something that it might be good or bad for the population. So it can generate this kind of discussions, before we. So this is something that we need to take care. And I think the way that they're doing, like storage in their own computers, in their own servers, is the best and the right way of doing it, like for the privacy of the clients, or to generate it with your own style, and to do not face like copyright issues. So through all of that, I think that's the main thing. And just to add a small thing, you said about the computational power. Gladly, architecture is we already need a lot of computational power, because we do rendering and we work with 3Ds. So actually, this is something that we can take advantage of it, because we already have powerful machines, so it's not that hard to just download it, like Stable Diffusion, and use it. So I really think that people should do it if they're interested in that. They should download it, test it, and see what happens. It's not that hard as it looked like.
Makes sense. We can also think about making a guide on how to install Stable Diffusion and how to use it in the near future. We can think about that.
Definitely.
Anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
So just to wrap it up, I think MVRDV, they are creating like a new perspective of using AI, and I feel that they are kind of leading to a new standard, for the next couple of years. I think it's just a start, especially through this for the early stages of design. But there's so many potentials. I envision so many good things, and as I told you, I saw that in other tools that we can maybe do another episode about it. I'm excited with that, and I feel that we should follow this pathway, in architecture.
Awesome. Yeah, it was quite interesting to learn how companies are using this technology in different ways, right? Where are they implementing them in their pipeline, and how are they embracing this? Yeah, and demystifying it and being open about it, how they're using and how it's affecting them. Okay, let's wrap up. If you're interested in how AI is evolving and how you can introduce it in your life or your work, subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcast service. If you're interested in how AI is evolving and how you can introduce it in your life or in your work, subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcast service and follow us to learn more. Let's explore AI together. If you have any questions for us, you can reach out to us at hello@humanAIXP.com or connect with us on Instagram at humanAIXP. Thanks for listening. See you next week.